goes by so very fast, and when I'm dead and gone, my songs might be all that's left of me that I know will carry on. Oh, each of us needs something that we can leave behind. So when the ripples cease to be, the pebble they will find. My children grow and are themselves the traces of me few, but my songs could last forever, though the singers would be new. So listen to the songs I sing and know them to be me, and hope that though my time is short, my songs will always be. 'Cause each of us needs something that we can leave behind. So when the ripples cease to be, the pebble they will find.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. Well, welcome to First Unitarian Church of Pittsburgh. It is Sunday, October 15th of 2023. I am Reverend Dr. Kadar Walker, and I am so privileged and honored and delighted to serve as your minister. And for those with visual disability, I'm a middle-aged white female with light brown hair in a pixie cut. I wear glasses, and I am wearing a blue dress with leaves and a religious stole. You are all welcome here, every single one of you here in this sanctuary, and for those who are on YouTube now or in the future, we are so glad that you have chosen to be with us this morning or whenever you happen to be. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are a people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We're a multi-faith religious community where all are welcome, diversity is celebrated, and questions are expected. We're all growing, we're learning, and we are loved. You are welcome here just as you are. And if this is your first time with us, a particular outstretch of welcome and gratitude for your decision to be with us. If you're online, please check us out on our website if you haven't already. Down on the main page of the website, at the bottom, you'll find a form to sign up for our newsletter, and you can find out what's going on in this community. It's sent out every Thursday. And if you're here in person, we have a welcome desk right through those doors in the garden lobby. We'd love to hear from you. Send us an email, give us your address and phone number. Let's be in conversation and dialogue about what you are seeking in a liberal religious community. And if you're a longtime member who has been giving your time and energy and love for many years, thank you. Thank you for your continued dedication and your vision and commitment to who we are. And I also want to have a few announcements because we're just that kind of people. We got things going on around here. We're a place for curiosity and healing and connection. And I want to offer some gratitude in case you haven't noticed, you will soon. A few things are going to be bumpy over the next 3.5 months because Cicely Moultrie, our communications czar, expertise wizard, is off effectively now for the next 3.5 months. She's having a baby girl. She's having a baby girl. This is something we celebrate, and that means that things around here may be falling apart. but we will get through it. We will be patient with one another, won't we? Things will look a little odd, maybe slightly not what we expect it to be. Have faith. She will return in early February and all will be well. All will be well. In the meantime, a lot of volunteers are picking up the mini balls that Cicely takes care of. So be kind to one another. And be kind to me. I'm handling several of those balls myself. And also gratitude for Ellen Goshen, who's going to take the month of November off, well-deserved time of rest and relaxation. And we are going to be, yes, we can love her. And we are going to be welcoming Mark Michelli as our keyboardist, and I'm sure you'll offer your warm gratitude when he comes in November. And I want to also offer gratitude for the support and affirmation for all of you for my pending visit to the Khasi Hills in India. And for Karen, your constant support and your making this happen, your affirmation in this. And so I leave on Thursday night, for those who don't know, and I'll be back. My body returns October 28th. I expect my brain to return maybe 2 days later. The baggage in the body will be back, but the rest of me, we'll see. So I take you some time just to rest, arrive in body and spirit. Take a deep breath. Be present with one another as we come together and worship a time of sacredness, of community, of connections, of deepened and expanding love. The time we set aside. We turn to our chalice lighting, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. 2 circles of Unitarians and Universalists with a flame burning bright in our hearts, in our minds, in our souls and bodies. And this morning, we continue our exploration of creativity. And we ask ourselves, how are we contributing to making a place where there is liberation and love for all? Thank you. I invite you to stand as you're able, in body and spirit. 359, when we are gathered.
When we are gathered for a time of worship and of song, let none forget the joys and griefs that mark each path of life, and thus we reach for those who long. We reach for those who long. For you shall pass, and time is once, and countless seasons turn. So day by day our years increase, until at last our life release, our spirits shine like stars. Our spirits shine like stars.
So, who remembers where Khasi Hills is? You can just say it. India, on the other side of the world, that's right. We have friends over there, even though there are friends that we may have never met. Most of us have never met. We have friends over there. We've been friends with that community for a very, very long time. And Reverend Kate is going to visit. So we wanted to do something together with us looking at creativity this month. Oh, so many things I could say about that. Some people think we're here to create, that's what we do. We spontaneously create. We're going to create art together with our friends in Khasi Hills. There could be a little more peace in the world right now, couldn't there? Yeah. And there are people out there who are working toward peace. We never see them on the news. We never hear anything about them. People out there who are working toward peace. And one of those people spreads this art project called the Singing Tree. When you make art together, you are in a peaceful state of mind with each other. This is something we want to cultivate more and more of, being in a peaceful state of mind while we're creating. And so she uses the singing tree to create peaceful communities. What is the singing tree? Well, we're going to have somebody come show it to us. I think probably Reverend Kate could use some help. Is there somebody who could take the other side, maybe? No? She's got it. She's got it. All right. Look at this beautiful sycamore tree. Would the artist please stand and be recognized? Mary Widener. This sycamore tree represents, this is our tree with Khasi Hills. It represents our hopes and I think specifically growth is what we're celebrating with that tree. Now, in your seats, just about every other pew should have some crayons. And all of you hopefully got a picture of a sycamore leaf. If you didn't, that's okay. We will have more downstairs. Those leaves are going to go with Reverend Kate to Khasi Hills, and they're going to go on this tree with their leaves. So I'm asking you and inviting you to put your heart, your love of growth and peace, and whatever your hopes are for Khasi Hills into decorating that leaf. Color that leaf. Put your soul into it. And then we have a big basket downstairs. We're going to put them in, and we're going to take them, and they will be attached to the tree. So if you are somebody who likes to color while you're here in the service as a meditation, go for it. For the kids who are going to be going to classes, you may want to give your leaf to your parents so that you can finish it when you come back. But we'll be downstairs. They'll all be downstairs together. All right? And I think that we're going to do one more thing, which is have a blessing for Reverend Kate as she goes. And for this, we do need all the kids. Any kids who are willing to come on up. Because kids are magical.
And we'd also like to call up the Khasi Hills Committee.
And the Khasi Hills Committee. So I'll let Alice walk you through this.
Yeah. So before, yeah. Come on, children. Before we do this blessing, we have a little sadness. Unfortunately, Eleanor Mayfield will not be traveling with Reverend Kate because there was a visa snafu. Boo-hoo. Sorry about that, Eleanor. This travel blessing is an excerpt from the poet John O'Donohue. He's one of my favorites. I hope he's yours. So if you look in your order of service, you'll see I have some words to read, and then you have some words to read. Yeah, so can we, all the children, can we put our hands, because that's the energy that's going to be carrying Reverend Kate safely to India. May you travel in an awakened way, gathered wisely into your ground. You may wholeheartedly make the most of invitations that wait along the way. May you travel safely, arrive refreshed, and live your time away to its fullest. May you share with our Unitarian siblings our love and support. May it be so. Blessed be and amen.
And we'll sing the children out now with 1057 in the teal hymnal, Go Lifted Up.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sam Hensgrico, and I have been asked this morning to talk with you briefly about being a supporter, financial supporter of this church. And let me give you a little brief background of how I got here. I grew up in an Italian Catholic family in Weirton, West Virginia, right down the road. Was intrigued by religious thought and ideas, went to a Catholic high school. I had a lot of questions, which sort of came with a lot of doubt. I met my wife, Catherine, in D.C. When we were attending law school, and we started to attend Unitarian churches. We moved here in 1987. And the first day we attended church, Reverend Paul Beatty was the minister. And it was a Christmas service, if anybody remembers that. Paul would do this annually where he had a jazz band as part of the service. And I came in, and we could not find a seat in the church. It rocked for a whole hour. We walked away just in complete amazement at this Unitarian church. We came back in January, cold January Sunday. It was a very different experience when we came back in the door. We have been involved in the church many different levels, from the board, coming of age, Winter Institute, Summer Institute, teaching at RE through all those years. And it's always been the religious home for us. We have, like I said, looked for a place where questions are asked, where folks share thoughts and ideas, where you can hear inspiration and follow that journey. Many years ago, I participated with Betty Kesnoy's. She had a seminar on the search of your spiritual life, and she had like 10 different questions to go through, and she encouraged you to look at them like once a week. And it was that idea that this is your religious journey. This is how you need to define that. And coming to church, that's what we find here repeatedly. I remember one of Reverend Kate's first services when she was here talking about the difference between identity and culture. And I found that so intriguing. I should have listened more, right? Because my mind completely started to wander off to another institution that I'm working with, and how culture and identity clash in those things. But that's where this is the home that we look for. This is the home that we have come to find. You find a peace of mind here within you, with community, with you, and with others. And why do we give money? Number one, we are able to do that now. For many, many years, we weren't able to carry our burden of the support of the church. That's a great blessing to have. Number two, because of you. There have been times when we have wandered away from the church, looked at other places, but it's always been that thing where this is where we come home. This is where our roots are. And it's for, being able to get that message out, that you are welcome here. I love the idea that our doors are open, that anybody can come in, anybody can be part of this. I mean, we were with the church with Kurt many years ago that put up the banner that, a civil marriage is a civil right. This church takes those leads, pushes that envelope, asks people to be thinking, pushing, and welcoming. So please, as they come and ask for your financial support, please help. Please do a little bit more than you might think you are able to. That's a great reward for not only you, but for all of us together. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
The Share of the Plate for October is for the Clean Valley Air Now, and you can read about it in your order of service. But I would still like to tell you a little bit about it. It seeks to fight for the residents of the Mon Valley who continue to suffer from severe health, economic, climate, and environmental injustice by galvanizing the community to take action through local politics, grassroots organizing, community building, education, and community health initiatives. Our offering is a message, in addition to what Sam was talking about. Our religious community is made up of volunteers and staff, creating a host and hosting a variety of programming, even as we enjoy our community together. We rely on your financial support, and any information about how to give is in your order of service. The offertory will now be taken.
Surprise. You're smiling now, and soon the laughter really starts. I take you in my arms and dream of stories we will share all of our lives. The years go by in the blink of an eye. You're pushing now to find out who you are. Buzzing bees and climbing trees, you're rising up and reaching for the stars. The stories we have shared will speed you. Soon the time will come to say goodbye. Our book is more than blue and paper. Chapters come from story makers. We are more than flesh and bones. Our stories are our lives. Now you're grown and you're on your own, living stories with the love that's in your heart. She finds your eyes, it's a big surprise. You're smiling now, and soon the laughter really starts. Take her in your arms and dream of stories you will share all of your lives.
Thank you. Thank you. What a beautiful song. Joys and sorrows. They are a part of our lives daily, minute by minute. I'm very sad to share the longtime member of our community, Mickey Doak, as she was closing in on her 100th birthday, died on Friday night. She had just entered hospice. It was a long decline for her, but her daughter Janice is relieved that her suffering is over. The family is looking at having a celebration of life around Thanksgiving, when the family will all be here in the same place, which is also Mickey's birthday. Yeah. Nancy Latimer is asking for your thoughts and prayers. Her mother is also is declining in health, and your love is appreciated. I know each of you is carrying sorrows and concerns, and please remember that we hold each other together in this beloved community. And we also have celebrations. Jim writes, is this your birthday? 88? Is that right? 88 years old today. Thank you. And this is who we are as a community. I also want to take some time, if you will breathe with me, my beloved, and be with me to talk about Israel and Palestine. I offer these words with much deep prayer on my part, knowing that anything I say may be perceived as biased or incomplete or potentially harmful, for which I'm deeply sorry if it is received that way. I enter into a no-win territory as people and organizations are struggling all around the world to craft the right or the best words in this horrific crisis, knowing also that no response is morally vacuous and woefully inadequate. Beloved, we are holding grief and heartbreak or perhaps rage. Some of us are directly impacted by the violence that is shattering Israeli and Palestinian lives. We may be tending to family, colleagues, community members, many of whom may have divergent stances and perspectives that conflict with our own and each other. This feels like an acute challenge to communicate faithfully in what feels like an impossible time for us. And here in Pittsburgh, with our large Jewish population, some of whom may be here in this space, also our families and our friends and our neighbors, our beloved, we are particularly sensitive to and vigilant with our love. As we approach the 5th anniversary of the Tree of Life shooting, we find ourselves with heightened sensitivity and tender hearts. Many of us have Palestinian family and connections as well, whose hearts are breaking and their terror is expanding. Perhaps we have both Jewish and Muslim connections, or Israeli and Palestinian Christian connections. Our lives are interwoven with these complex connections that are holding us in this fragile space. As Unitarian Universalists, we have to ask, what is our role? We're a multi-faith community, and we find ourselves in a precious and sacred holding space, a space we hold with our principles and our values with the utmost strength and to the best of our ability. We are people who believe in and hold to the inherent worth and dignity of all people. And we strive for peace and liberty and justice for all. By holding to our principles and values, we remain grounded in the very best of who we believe we can be. These principles and our values guide us in how we treat one another and how we wish to be treated. They impact our daily activities. They are lifelong goals and fervent prayers. So hear me when I say that in this space, in this sacred space, all are welcome who remain dedicated to living out these values and our principles. This is our public message to our neighbors and our world friends. Public statements beyond from this church and from the UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Association, on societal issues are based on votes by you and me, the members. For this church, it would happen at a congregational meeting. For the UUA, it would happen as delegates as member congregations at our annual General Assembly, held in June. Where there have been a number of historic statements that have been adopted by the General Assembly on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, including a fairly comprehensive resolution that was issued in 2002. Recent votes have been fraught, and a number of proposed statements have failed to pass. Debate around business resolutions related to a boycott, divestment sanctions as recently as 2016, which did not pass, in particular was hurtful to many Unitarian Universalists with different identities and perspectives. If any of you would like to see these statements, I'd be happy to provide you with the link. The Unitarian Universalist Association is developing resources for our use, but not a public statement regarding the Israel and Palestine conflict. I believe this church also should not issue a statement other than one that says unequivocally that we stand against all forms of violence. We must utilize as many resources as we're able in order to continue to hold this sacred space for healing, where justice, equity, compassion, peace, and liberty can be achieved for all people. And having said all this, I am using the freedom of this pulpit, gifted by you to me, to state that I condemn the violence by Hamas against the Israelis, and I condemn the systemic oppression and retaliation by the Israeli government upon these Palestinians in Gaza. I condemn anti-Semitism and any anti-Muslim prejudice such as Islamophobia. Israel and the Jewish people deserve to have their own state, and Palestinians should have their own state. How to get to that point and create peace in the Middle East is most certainly one of the most difficult and vexing challenges that humanity faces, and we have for a very long time. So many bodies, so many blood. Today, I cannot go into the complex religious, political, social, economic, and national issues layering over thousands of years of history. But I can say, today I am resisting the human impulse to create false dualities, based on political division or expectations or virtue purity statements. My goal, and I encourage you to do this as well, is to focus on the humanity of every single person involved and their ability to survive this current horrific crisis. I encourage you to stay informed and educated on these complex issues, and please take care of your mental health and your spiritual life. These are really difficult times. The issues are deep, they're profoundly tied to people's core identities and their ability to simply exist. Because fear is so prevalent and violence erupts so easily, we must continue to hold this sacred space, our sacred space, in order for peace and compassion to prevail. Again, these are my words. I have not run them past the Board of Trustees. And I thank you for listening. I invite you now into a time of prayer and meditation and silence. Spirit of love, ease our pain and grief. Spirit of love, help heal our wounds, for they are deep and sometimes beyond measure. Spirit of love, remind us of how precious and holy each of us are, and every life on this planet. Spirit of life, flow through us with each breath and each step and each move and each word that we speak, that we do so with compassion, seeking justice for all people. May our siblings of all faiths find their groundedness in this earth and their spirits connected to that which they hold as most holy, most sacred. May our minds be at peace, peace, peace. May we feel connected and whole. May we feel connected and whole. Spirit of love and life and peace, let us together create a world of beauty and justice, where children can grow into the beauty they so deserve. Blessed be, and amen.
Voice still as fall.
The reading for this morning is entitled Diving into the Wreck by Adrienne Rich. First, having read the Book of Myths and loaded the camera and checked the edge of the knife blade, I put on the body armor of black rubber and absurd flippers, the grave and awkward mask. I'm having to do this not like Cousteau with his assiduous team aboard the sun-flooded schooner, but here, alone. There is a ladder. The ladder is always there, hanging innocently close to the side of the scooter. We know what it is for, we who have used it. Otherwise, it is a piece of maritime floss, some sundry equipment. I go down, rung after rung, and still the oxygen immerses me, the blue light, the clear atoms of our human air. I go down. My flippers cripple me. I crawl like an insect down the ladder. There is no one to tell me when the ocean will begin. First, the air is blue, and then it is bluer, and then green, and then black. And I'm blacking out, and yet my mask is powerful. It pumps my blood with power. The sea is another story. The sea is not a question of power. I have to learn alone to turn my body without force in the deep element. And now it is easy to forget what I came for. Among so many who have always lived here, swaying their crenellated fans between the reefs and besides, you breathe differently down here. I came to explore the wreck. The words are purposes, the words are maps. I came to see the damage that was done and the treasures that prevail. I stroke the beam of my lamp slowly along the flank of something more permanent than fish or weed. The thing I came for, the wreck. Not the story of the wreck, the thing itself. Not the myth, the drowned face always staring toward the sun. The evidence of damage worn by salt and sway into this threadbare beauty, the ribs of the disaster, curving their assertion among the tentative haunters. This is the place. And I am here, the mermaid whose dark hair streams black, the merman in his armored body. We circle silently about the wreck. We dive into the hold. I am she, I am he. Those drowned face sleeps with opened eyes, whose breasts still bear the stress, whose silver, copper, vermilion cargo lies obscurely inside barrels, half wedged and left to rot. We are half destroyed instruments that once held to a course, the water-eaten log, the fouled compass. We are, I am, you are, by cowardice or courage, the one who find our way back to this scene, carrying a knife, a camera, a book of myths in which our names do not appear.
Our theme of the month of creativity. Creativity mostly needs us, you and me, to get out of the way in order for it to really kick in. and unfold. In 1993, I needed to get out of the way. I was living in Boulder, Colorado. I was working for Greenpeace. I was 30 years old, and developmentally, right on schedule, I began asking big life questions about my life, my beliefs, my values, my purpose, as if we all had and have a purpose. That's another sermon. I wanted to know exactly how I was going to satisfy a growing inner discontent, a nothingness that was beginning to raw and knob at my daily existence. I was saving the planet. You would think that would be enough, right? One door, one signature, one check, one tree, one protest, each interrupting your dinner. But it was not sufficient. My creative instincts, which I have to note were not in the least bit structured, trained, domesticated, were bouncing around in my body like pinballs in a machine with random lights triggering and bells going off. In those moments when I happened to come across something that appealed and it enticed me, some door that I saw and wanted to go through. One day, that door was the Boulder Public Library. Go libraries. No memory whatsoever. I have no memory whatsoever of why I was actually going through what I was pursuing that day. I was probably just wandering up and down the aisles, but my unconscious mind, I think, directed me to the poets. The poets. Their words were calling to me, along with the billions of other words that were spilling down those aisles from history and fiction and religion and philosophy, all worthy words, each unto themselves. But it was the poets, like a siren's call, that was beckoning me toward them with their temptation, their dangerous temptation. Poets always turn things inside out. As my fingers slowly slid over the bound edges, I looked at the titles and the authors. I pulled a few off and looked through it, but none grabbed me. I pushed them back in, thinking they can compete amongst themselves there on the shelf. And then there was one that fell into my hands, and I opened it up, and I found myself on the floor. My heart was shattered, tears streaming down my red face as I read each word of Adrienne Rich. Her poem, diving into the wreck in her same-titled book, was my dangerous temptation. Her siren call had captured me, and to this day, it has not let me go. The danger was an explosion of change in my life as I dove into my own wreckage of my story and its context. Rich's word held me as I opened the only door that was really ever in front of me that I refused to see again and again, steadfastly refused to acknowledge its existence, that I was going to be a Unitarian Universalist minister. Bloody hell. A year later, I went off to seminary with the poets firmly pushing me down deeper into my wreckage. My faith I had a deep faith that I would resurface, that I would be okay. In fact, I would reemerge more whole, more self-aware, more recountable, more responsible for myself and for this world, and more powerful with my creativity unleashed. Rich is one of several women poets and writers in the second half of the 20th century, using their personal, powerful stories and their journeys to push and pull and demand, to raise up and propel the woman's voice into the public conversation in a way that had happened in a long time. Sister author Carol P. Christ wrote Diving Deep and Surfacing, from whom I borrowed the title of her book for my sermon. She brought several of those amazing voices together for a book that looks at the needs of women needing to extract themselves from patriarchy and those many dominant norms that are associated with patriarchy. She brought in authors like Kate Chopin and Margaret Atwood and Doris Lessing and Tazaki Shang, along with Rich, all of whom, in one way or another, through personal and fictional stories, name something fundamentally revolutionary. There is no private life which is not determined by a wider public life. There is no private life which is not determined by a wider public life, and thus the careful and meticulous need to name, to recognize, and when necessary, dismantle the powers of that public life when it is suffocating people. Rich's poem, as you heard, names the necessity of discovering the personal identity is akin to diving into a shipwreck, which is profoundly private, and it bears the weight of impossibly public at the same time. My reaction to her poem was so personal, beyond words, so personal that I'm still unpacking it to this day as I prepared for this sermon, and I found that poem 30 years ago. Her words sent me down into, with my absurd flippers and awkward mask, into my relationship with my father. Now, don't worry, I am not going to use you as my therapist this morning. This is not a therapeutic session. But yet it is as well, and that you get the results of a healthy results of my deep sea diving expedition. What you need to know, if you haven't already know this, is that my father was a Unitarian Universalist minister. He died in 1986 from cancer when I was just 23 years old. He had a rocky career, both amazing and terrible, making it hard to understand and to accept. And upon his death, my life was tossed around like a boat on the sea. However, I always stayed connected to my family, to my friends, and to my Unitarian Universalist faith. And when Audrey and Rich smashed into me with her words, I began my dive, becoming a minister when I surfaced, but then I dived again and again and again. And each time I dived, it was a revolution of the impact of public life upon my personal life. Each one of us needs to start to unpack this. I was raised Unitarian Universalist liberal by feminist parents, but so much was never spoken of. So much was never put on the table, never explicitly named. And when you don't name it, you can't unpack it. When you don't name it, you may not ever see it or understand its impact and its power upon our personal lives. When I entered seminary, here's one. When I entered seminary, I met so many women clergy. Where were they when I was growing up? I met my first woman Unitarian Universalist clergy when I was in high school. In high school. She was a minister of religious education up at Shaker Heights in Cleveland, where my father was serving as an interim. Dorothy Baruch, I love you. I did not meet another Unitarian Universalist woman minister for 10 years when I was a young adult in Boulder. By the time I settled into my first ministry up the road in Meadville here, women were 51% of Unitarian Universalist women, of ministers. that has changed me and all of you. It took over 200 years for this church to call its first woman minister. Hello. The first woman, Universalist ordained woman, was Reverend Olympia Brown. Do you know her name? Reverend Olympia Brown? Oh, not enough. We're going to get a whole sermon about her. She was a Universalist minister. She was born in Michigan in 1935, raised with strong values in education. She was encouraged to and went to Antioch. And then she broke all the barriers and applied to many seminaries, only one who took her, Theological School of St. Lawrence, New York. And despite being repeated systemic and personal barriers from fellow students, faculty, the president of the seminary, who simply did not believe she should be there, she was in fact an experiment. None of them believed she had the capacity to finish, but she did. She became the first woman in our country, the first woman in the whole country to graduate from an established theological school in 1863. And the only people that would ordain her were, yes, the Universalists. They ordained Olympia Brown on June 25th of 1863, the first ordination of a woman in our country that was recognized by a denomination. That should be a holiday in our faith, shouldn't it? June 25th. 1863. In later years, she became a suffragist, working closely with Susan B. Anthony and Lucy Stone. She was one of the few who actually lived long enough to place her vote. She walked that picket line in front of the White House for over 2 years. Oh, President Wilson grew to hate her. Her quest for equality has been a source of inspiration for women for over 160 years. And each one of us, and I claim to be her protege, have been on a personal and political diving trips into the wreckage that's been caused by patriarchy and its many forms of oppressions. As women, the impact of our personal lives can never be measured. The lack of trust in our stories, our power, our creativity, our emotions, our brilliance, and our potential. The impact is revealed when we dig in between the myths and the stories, and she names this in Rich's poem, she names this about the myths and the stories. We want the thing itself, not the myths and the stories, because those were written by men. It was written by cisgendered men who attached to power. And while this poem was published in 1973, thus its binary language, it creates a ritual that should be done every year by cisgendered women and men, by the gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersect, by the Black, Indigenous, people of color, Asian, and disabled. Everybody should be engaging into the wreckage of our lives created by the powers of patriarchy. It's a ritual of diving into oppressive systems that have been cutting off our amazing stories, the power of who we are. And each generation, we build the courage to dive down with our knives in our hand, ready to cut away the debris that blocks and covers our beautiful, life-giving energy. Can you feel it? That life-giving energy, patriarchy and all its cousins, its forms of oppressions are based on the false gods of power, resulting in destructive forces that is oppressing our cisgendered men as well, who are taught early and often to not trust their emotions, to never really trust their creative instincts, and to love only for preservation. We all hurt from this. Our need to turn life-giving energy is to awaken what Carol Chris calls to be an awakening, and other women authors, consciousness raising to reconnect to the genuine power of being. And I mean this in a spiritual and humanist way. The interconnected web of existence of which we are all a part is at once a grand web of life, and it's a genuine power of being, of life force, a source of power and creativity that we are a part of and rarely remember in our daily lives. So we begin to deep down, and then we resurface, and then we reintegrate into the full potential of who we are as human beings, and it's gorgeous. Once we are free, with liberation for all, we begin to create a vision that is free of violence and war and hatred and racism and ableism and sexism and death that is not needed. None of this is the dominant story of our day anymore. Instead, we create life-giving, life-enhancing world for all. This is not a naive statement about love, my friends. This is a statement of courage to dismantle the forces of destruction that are built on those false gods of dominance. It happens over centuries, and it happens every day in large and small acts of courage. On December 1918, a month after the end of World War I, Olympia Brown again joined the protesters in front of the White House. It was a clear message to President Wilson, who went to France to boast about the world's greatest democracy. As they said, this U.S. is not a democracy where half of its citizens aren't allowed to vote. They gathered in Lafayette Square, around Lafayette's statue with large purple, white, and gold banners. And the crowd grew restless and angry and fiery, and they put logs in an urn, and somebody lit it on fire, and they fed that fire with speeches with the words of Wilson. The crowd got louder, and they began singing, and then out of the crowd, Olympia Brown stepped forward, and they all hushed. They all hushed. They recognized her for who she was. Her 83-year-old body at this point, and she had a sheaf of papers, and they were the speech that Wilson had given when he arrived in France. And she held them up, and she said, "I have fought for 70 years for liberty, and I protest. I protest the president's leaving this country with this old fight here unwon." And she thrust those papers into the fire. Courage, my friends. When we examine the wreckage in our own private and public lives, it belongs to all of us. Courage in hand, we surface again and again, dismantling white systems of patriarchy and oppression. So my challenge to you today is, what task, what deed, what words, what love will you offer to create a life-giving world? That is our religious call. Again and again. May it be so. Blessed be. I invite you to stand as you are able, in body and spirit. 1008, when our heart is in a holy place.
When we try
I invite you to please remain standing as you're able, embodying spirit as we extinguish our chalice. The words are in our hearts as well as our order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of unity, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go forth into this world, my beloved. Go forth with your hearts in a holy place. Go forth with courage to understand yourself and your story and the context within we each live. Return again with love abundant and wildly shared. Do you want to keep standing while we sing?
Well, they'll stand up for the chorus.
Oh,
You can sit for now. So this is a song written by a singer-songwriter named Rachel Kilgore, who, as it turns out, was the featured artist at Songspace, the concert series here a couple of weeks ago. She sang about her father, actually, mostly then, and this is a different song, which is more appropriate for the time. It's called Sing Out Together. The words for the chorus are in your order of service. You can skip the first chorus, but after that,
We're counting on you.
we are. I don't know you. You don't know me. At times it feels like we're as different can be. By our love, by our age, by our skin, by our faith, by the time we take, by our sleep and by our wake. But we can sing out together, out of joy or out of pain. We can beg for forgiveness, we can beg for the rain. Over miles and through our trials, through generations strong, we are held together by one song. I can run, I cannot walk. I'm the one you heard them talk about. I am hungry, I am fed, I'm behind and I'm ahead. And I don't speak your tongue. I am old and I am young. I am being, I have been. I'm the start and I'm the end. And we can sing out together, out of joy or out of pain. We can beg for forgiveness, we can beg for the rain. Over miles and through our trials, through generations strong, we are held together by one song. Well, I don't know you. You don't know me, but can we reach out? Maybe try and help each other see. 'Cause every person, every child, we all play this game a while. We all cry the same tears. We all laugh the same smiles. This is your part. We can sing out together, out of joy or out of pain. We can